Hey guys, TrainerDC here, coming at you with another video. Everyone thought that on Pokemon Day in 2024, we would get some sort of Black and White revisit, whether it be a Pokemon Black and White Faithful remake, whether it be a Pokemon Black and White 3, a sequel game, or a Legends Unova. Everyone thought that Unova was the next region to get revisited, and while that wasn't the case, and we obviously got Pokemon Legends ZA, I think that everyone would probably agree that Unova is one of the more likely candidates to get a revisit in the not too distant future. But what form would that revisit be in? Would it be a Legends game? Would it be a sequel game? Would it be a one-to-one faithful remake? And today in this video, I wanted to discuss all three possibilities and which I think is the most likely to happen. So first and foremost, let's get the most boring one out of the way first. A one-to-one faithful remake, just like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl to your Diamond and Pearl, but for Black and White. This is something that I would say is definitely a possibility to happen. It's definitely possible that Pokemon Works or Ilka or someone makes a faithful Black and White remake in a gap year, right? I've been saying this in videos time and time again recently that most likely how the Pokemon Company will operate going forward is instead of having these gap years where we have no Pokemon game at all, they'll use an external studio to make a one-to-one faithful remake. And if they do that, Black and White is obviously a prime candidate to receive that sort of treatment. The big question is, if they do something like this, will we get a Pokemon Black and White remake? Will we get a Black and White remake alongside Black 2 and White 2, or would they somehow do a 2-in-1 package for them? If this were to happen, I think it's unfortunately just going to be Black and White and no mention of Black and White 2, because I doubt they're going to do both games in a 2-to-1 package, and they're not going to have two games come out right next to each other from the same studio, so I highly doubt that's happening. Between the three options, I feel like this one's not the most likely. The next option that we have is a Pokemon Legends Unova. This one I think everyone was expecting to happen because it makes sense, right? The original dragon is closely tied to the lore of Unova of Generation 5, and it's something that we never got to see. Black and White 2 teased us with that because Team Plasma was going to use their new DNA splicer to fuse Kyurem with Reshiram and Zekrom to create the original dragon, but things didn't exactly go as planned. Instead of creating the original dragon, they created Black and White Kyurem respectively. So the original dragon is something that a lot of people really want to see and are curious to see what it looks like, and a way they could explore that is in a Pokemon Legends Unova game taking place in the past, where we get to see what the original dragon was like, and maybe we get to see what these Kings of the Unova region were like, and maybe we're living in that era of that region. That is a high possibility in my mind to happen, but I don't think it's the most likely possibility. In my opinion, I think the most likely Unova revisit that we could get is a Pokemon Black and White 3. And the thing you might be saying to yourself is, Trainer DC, but I really want to see the original dragon. I think Game Freak knows that we all really want to see the original dragon. Why would they do a Black and White 3 instead of doing a Unova game in the past, like a Legends Unova that you just touched on very briefly? And by the way, we'll have a bigger video going over my ideas for a Legend Unova, but that's a topic for another day. I think the reason why Black 3 and White 3 are the most likely scenario here is because Game Freak likes to mix things up. They said this time and time again that they like to mix things up and like to keep the fans on their toes. And while a Legends Unova would be cool, and yes, we could explore Unova in the past with the original dragon, I think a Black 3 and White 3 would make a lot more sense here because, number one, Black and White were the first Pokemon games to ever get sequels, and I feel like it'd be apropos for the revisit for those games to be yet another sequel. And the thing is here that I feel like having a Black 3 and White 3 doesn't preclude them from doing another BDSP, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, to Legends Arceus situation, where we get Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl a few months prior to us getting Legends Arceus, because those two games tied together because they're taking place in the same region. I could see them doing something very similar with Black 3 and White 3, where we get the original Black and White from Pokemon Works, the Ilka founded studio in collaboration with the Pokemon Company, that comes out maybe 5 to 6 months before Black 3 and White 3 come out, as a way to build up the excitement, build up the hype, reintroduce the Unova region how it initially was in 2010 to people who maybe didn't experience it, or maybe you get to re-experience it once again for the first time in 15 to 20 years by the time this comes out, or really 25 years. What am I saying, 15? We're already past that point. But that's a possibility as well. And also too, regarding the original dragon, I don't think making a Black 3 and White 3 precludes them from including the original dragon in those games. I think that whatever Unova revisit happens, the original dragon is nearly a lock to happen. I say nearly a lock to happen because you never really know with Game Freak. I think we were all expecting with Legends Arceus to have some sort of brand new form for Arceus, but that didn't happen. I said at the time, back then, I believe I made a video on this. If not, I'd said it to friends, but I said at the time that I thought Arceus was was a lock to get a brand new form in Pokemon Legends Arceus, and Dialga and Palkia were like a 50-50 chance of happening, and obviously we know what happened. We got Origin Form Dialga, Origin Form Palkia, and nothing for Arceus. I do still think that Arceus getting nothing in Legends Arceus, you know, the game that's named after it, is a bit of a misnomer. I don't know why we didn't get some sort of uber powerful cool form for Arceus. That just seemed rather weird, and it still seems rather weird. So that's why I say it's almost a lock. I don't think it's 100% a lock, because you never know with the Pokemon Company and Game Freak. Maybe they want to keep the original dragon a mystery from everyone and they never want to answer that question. But I feel like they're not stupid. They know that, hey, if we revisit Unova, or not if, when we revisit Unova, if we do a brand new title, a brand new game, and not a one-to-one faithful remake, people want to see the original dragons. So because of that, I think the original dragon is nearly a lock to be in whatever Black and White revisit we get. And between the options that I laid out for you, a one-to-one faithful remake of the original Black and White, a 2-pack where we get Black and White and Black and White 2 in one game, or maybe 2 remakes at the same time, or we get a Black 3 and White 3, or a Legends Unova, I feel like the most likely and the most logical thing for them to do is Black 3 and White 3. It just feels like the best way to revisit Unova, because it's apropos. You're revisiting the original region that got a Pokemon sequel. What better way to do that than with another sequel? And we now know that Game Freak's not necessarily opposed to making a sequel years after the original game. Last year, we got Pokemon Legends ZA in 2025, 12 years after the original X and Y came out back on the 3DS in 2013. So they're not opposed at revisiting a region years after we got the original game with a direct sequel. We got it 12 years later with ZA to X and Y, and there's only a 5-year gap between those games in universe. So it's not like it's impossible that they couldn't do the same thing from Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 to Pokemon Black 3 and White 3. Anyways, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think is the most likely scenario for a Unova revisit? Do you think it's a faithful Ilka-style BDSP-like remake for Black and White? Do you think it's a combination of that with a Black and White 2 remake? Do you think it's a Legends Unova game? Do you think it's a Black 3 and White 3? Let me know down below. And if we were to get one of those games, what would you like to see happen in those games? If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from Trainer DC. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.